Track versions means you have different versions of audio or MIDI events in your project window. Track versions has nothing to do with the setup of your MIDI or audio channel. So if you do apply changes here, whatever you do, stays the same even if you change your track version. Your channel settings will be untouched. So your inserts, the strip, the channel equalizer sends, your fader or panner, everything stays the same. But what changes is the data you have here in your project window on your track. So what you can do is you can record different versions and listen to how they sound in your project. You can even put them together and can try out different arrangements. So for example, I have one arrangement. Of course, they don't make any sense right now, but it doesn't matter. I have one arrangement here where I have space in between my parts. I have one arrangement here where I don't have any space between. And I have one version where I didn't play at all, and that went really well. No mistakes were made here. So now I can listen to my project and try out these different arrangements, and then I can decide if I want to keep one or if the other one is better, or if I want to delete all of them and even try a new one. So a new one you would do like I just did. You just say create a new one, and then an empty version is created. That does not mean that your other versions are gone. They are still here. They're just hidden. And I think it saves some space. So you could also say, why would I need track versions? I can easily duplicate this track and then apply some changes and then duplicate it and apply some changes and so on. And if I don't need it, I mute it. So that would be a way to compare versions as well. But I think the track versions, they save space and CPU power. So this is a good idea to use those. So you create a new one, you can do another recording, but you could also copy and paste in between your versions. So if you had, for example, a part that was really good here in your first version, you just copy it, you change your version and put these in here. And then you say, well, I liked that last part as well. I want to have it copied to here. So that is no problem at all. So like I said, this is only what happens here in your project window. If you make changes here, you cut parts, you copy them, you make fades, you move things around, you try different arrangements. It is like kind of stored on your track. And if you change a track version, another stored copy will appear. You can create new ones, you can duplicate yours. If you have a very complicated track created and you want to apply small changes, you probably would say duplicate it, and then you have a copy of that one. You can do some small changes and compare it to the one you had before. Wait, I don't know which one it was, this one. So one problem is, you already saw it with my noodling here, they get names, and these names maybe don't make a lot of sense. So what you want to do maybe is change the names so that you know what you're working on right now. So now I'm here in version 4, and version 3 to 1 can be changed here or over here in your inspector in the track versions tab. You just click on it and you see you can really effective and fast change your different arrangements, and you don't have to mute or unmute or delete stuff. So now in this window there's two informations, and if I click on it here in the beginning, I can change the name of my instrument, but if I double click here in the end, I can change the name of my track version. You can also do so by clicking on rename, and you can of course delete track versions. So if you created one and you didn't need it, or it wasn't as good as you thought it would be, you would just select it and click the delete button and it is removed from your list. Two more things that are really helpful with track versions are these. So, like you see, at the end there is another row and it is called ID. So every track version that you create gets an ID. If you do create a track version for several tracks, they all get the same ID. So you see, this has the ID 23 and this also. That also works if you click on the group edit button. Inside one group, you select a track and say new version. That also will create 24, 24, 24. A lot of track versions with the same ID. So what would you need that for? All the track versions I create for single tracks get IDs that change all the time. So if I create a new version here, it's called 25 and no other ID is 25 up to that moment. If I click on this one and say new version, it will get 26 and no other one will have 26 right now. So why do you need that? If you, for example, have a folder or a group of tracks where you record drums, or you have two microphones placed at an acoustic guitar or over your piano, then you could select these two tracks, create the same ID for these two microphones, and then if you keep on recording and recording, you can select versions with the same ID. So right now I have maybe in my snare drum I have two microphones which I want to combine for sound reasons, or two different microphones at my piano or my guitar. And right now I have track version with the ID 17 here and 23 here. So these were from different recordings, and you might confuse stuff and it wouldn't sound good anymore. So I select this version, I go to project track versions and say search for the same ID. It automatically showed me the tracks that have the ID 23. You can also do so by clicking on your group edit or folder edit button. And if I go to ID 19, you see inside my project folder, all the track versions 19 are selected. Or if I choose the one 24, you see all track IDs 24 are selected. If I want to do something that doesn't make sense, Cubase will tell me about it. So this function will help you select the correct group of tracks that you recorded together. For example, a drum multi-track recording with 10, 12 or 15 microphones, and you do one recording and these tracks are all inside your drum folder, and then you want to record another version, you say folder edit, new version, and then all your tracks get a new version with the same ID. And if you later on select that ID, it will automatically put the right tracks together from that exact recording. And the other one is you can convert track versions into lanes. So right now you see I have different versions here. And if I wanna see all these at the same time, I can convert these versions into lanes. And vice versa. So right now I have versions and I want to create lanes. And you see, out of my 4 track versions with data, it created now lanes. If I undo that, you can see again here are my track versions, and if I open one, there's no lanes. By the way, every track version can have their own set of lanes, so I could do that if I want to do multi-recordings on that track versions. It would create lanes. But right now I only have, you can see, I only have one recording on every track version. But if I go to project, track versions, create lanes, then it will create all the different lanes from my track versions. But I still can keep my track versions, so it will create a new track version where all my Other track versions are put together in a lanes field.